Exploragonians. Wow, you went really low there. That's nice.
Exploragonians. Yeah, go.
Exploragonians.
Oh, I guess I could have like kept the beat
No,
going.
there's no. You're dancing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, how was your anniversary?
It was really nice, actually.
Actually.
Yeah, it was chill.
Okay.
For my anniversary,
Yeah, what did you do?
You and I went on a beach walk, and that was really nice.
Yeah, crazy because we live like a mile away from the beach.
As we have established. And
But we don't go. Oh, there it is.
but it was so nice. Our dog was happy. There's no one on the beach because, hot tip, it's great to go to the beach on the Oregon coast in December.
But I think you were nearing hypothermia with the toes.
Okay, so I wore sandals, which maybe wasn't the best.
What's an appropriate beach choice?
Probably for normal hot beaches.
For normal hot beaches. I wonder what the number of hot beaches versus like
Cold
temperate
beaches.
cold beaches are.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to find more beaches.
So a
like-
normal hot beach.
Yeah. Okay, but we live on a cold beach. And so I wore my sandals and we're walking, power walking, we're having a great time, beach to ourselves. Then I look down and my toes are like super red. Not purple. I mean, they're
That's not good.
No, they are transforming. And I'm like,
Okay.
oh, because I like in my mind I wasn't that cold because I had clearly numbed out.
But in your toes, you were feeling cold.
I think that visual was strong.
Hmm.
And I think once you saw that, you were concerned. And then we turned around.
And then I saw that sardine, the beach sardine.
Have you ever seen a beach sardine before?
Are you talking to me or like the listeners?
I'm talking to you.
I have. That was the first time I've seen a beach sardine. I've seen a beached squid with you.
Have you seen a fish? Just like,
I've seen fish parts. Not like I mean, there was like most of a fish. It was like 87% of a fish.
wow.
Yeah.
Like a trout? Salmon?
Well, there were like when it's like salmon spawning season, like, you know, they spawn and then they die, which is beautiful.
Wow.
Imagine if people did that. They spawned and they died.
I'll be fine.
Oh, damn.
Sorry.
Like my cousin and I, we were walking around after spawning season and there was like this, it was like this wispy
Wait,
dead.
when is spawning season? How did you know?
That's a great question.
Did you learn that in school?
I'd love to answer that. Well, as we've addressed that the only curriculum that we received in elementary school was salmon knowledge. That's all we got. I don't know. It was maybe around this time. That might be wrong. Someone listening probably has a lot of like salmon knowledge and they're like, that guy's an idiot.
That's fine. So, wait. You and your cuz are going on a hot date after after
Okay,
salmon.
don't say you and your cousin are on a hot date because it's painting a very different image. Kind of like when our friend Darren was like, "Oh, I met a really nice girl. She's my girlfriend. I met her at the family reunion."
We're like, well, that's a lovely story.
And the most rural Oregon thing we've ever heard.
Anyway.
So it was my cousin friend, not kissing cousin.
Great.
Okay.
So
yeah.
you guys are walking
Right, with our feet and our hearts.
on the river?
We're near the river, yeah. And then we looked down the bridge, and there was like kind of a coarse sand. So I will call it a beach, the
Okay.
river's beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was like this wispy, ghostly looking, large, like king salmon, Chinook thing, coho.
Maybe I've seen dead salmon too.
It's a look. And it was huge. It was so big. And this
Yeah.
cousin was the bad cousin. He was the Sid to
Yeah.
my Andy.
Mhm.
And so we walked down. He was like, you know what we should do with this salmon?
Oh,
I was
no.
like, what? He's like, we should pick it up and walk it. So he fucking grabs the salmon, drags it up to the top of the bridge, and then throws it overboard. Maybe it was like, I was going to say Viking funeral, but that's not what a Viking wouldn't take their dead and throw it off and be like, hope you make it to Valhalla. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that was my first
Okay.
experience with a big dead fish,
Wow. So anyway, we saw a little sardine on the beach.
which is very different from the big ghost salmon.
And then we had some chill time at our home.
We did ghost. We made pottery.
And I feel like it was like a short amount of time, but also lasted for hours where you and I were like tediously working on our little like, clay projects. Yeah, but it was nice. We have some nice
Some nice pieces that are drying.
clay art. Yeah, that we're gonna paint next.
I do have one regret about it though, and it wasn't that I wish that I'd come up behind you and like romantically like helped you make something. That didn't happen.
Okay, but
That didn't happen.
realistically, what would you have done?
I could have held your hand as you like rolled out that ball for the little snowman figurine you made.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could have covered your eyes.
Ew, your little
With my
clay
clay.
hands. No.
Clay Hands makes me sound like that one villain from Batman, Clayface. He looks like he's dripping all the time.
This is not my favorite visual.
I think you're gonna talk like this, Batman.
Okay, let's go back to your anniversary. Did you have a nice anniversary?
I did. It was pleasant. It was low key. And yeah, I was just happy with it. And then we watched, I'm going to do a plug. We watched Spirited because it is the Christmas times.
Yeah, and did we know that it's a musical?
I did, yes.
Okay, I did not.
Woo!
So it was a surprise for me.
So yeah, anniversary was good. And, afterwards, I put my brain to thinking about, I was like reminiscing about the world's first national park.
Yes.
Do you know what the world's first national park is?
Well, I'm going to assume it's Yellowstone National Park.
Assume? Yes, you're correct. In what year did Yellowstone become the world's first national park?
1897.
You're not far off. You're drinking age behind. It was March 1st, 1872. And which president, pray tell, signed that into law?
I was going to say Hoover, but that's
Yeah,
not
no.
it. It's not it.
It was not George Washington, and it was not a member of the Whig Party. Also, isn't it sad that Ben
John
Franklin-
Adams.
John Adams?
I don't got it.
John Adams or John Quincy Adams? Huh?
What do we got? What's the answer?
It is President Ulysses S. Grant.
Oh, I feel like I did know that.
Which
Darn
is
it.
always crazy because I feel like it is soon enough that seems like fairly modern history, like 1872. That doesn't seem like that long ago. But also that was a Civil War general who was president. So that's also like a weird like timey-wimey thing. It's like, whoa. How big is Yellowstone National Park?
Why am I taking this little quiz?
Because you have given me 2 weeks straight of incessant Christmas quizzes.
Okay, I do have a few more questions on that
Thank-
quiz. I have been keeping it open on my phone.
Open and fresh.
Okay, but some of the questions really aren't that great.
Yeah, I know.
Moving on. So, how big?
How big? Really big.
5,000 acres.
You are so off. You are
1 million acres.
You are so off. You are so off. So small. You're thinking so small.
10,000. 10 million.
10. I go from 1 million. You go to 10,000. 2.2 million.
Well, there.
You
I was
just
close.
shrugged.
I was close.
You just shrugged.
Didn't I just end with 2 million?
I think you said like 10.5. Yeah, you just made up a.
That's true.
you're
Okay.
like, Gargoonalo.
Tell me again.
2.2 million acres.
Wow.
Did it feel like that driving around?
Well, I mean, how much do you think we actually saw?
All 2.2 million acres. We did miss out on my favorite part of Yellowstone, and it is this 50 square mile piece of the park that's in Idaho. Because
Oh.
Yellowstone National Park has these like crazy boundaries. It's like kind of a long square. Some people would call that a rectangle, but I'm going to say it's a long square because rectangle makes me think of a really long square.
Well, as you told me last night, you're like, I'm really good with shapes. So if anyone didn't know,
Okay, the way you made that sound, I sounded like a kindergartner.
Well.
Kindergartner.
okay, let's go back to long square.
So it's a long square, and it's almost all of it is in Wyoming, except for like a little landing strip at the top that belongs to Montana, and then an equal landing strip on the side, which is Idaho. But then there's this like itty bitty like 50 square piece on like the southern portion of that like strip in Idaho, where there's like nobody lives. It's just
Oh, right.
meadows
Yes.
and rivers and whatever, grizzly bears. But there's no one around, and because of that, there's like this law professor who's like, I think recently was like brought this conversation back up with Congress that we need to close this constitutional loophole where you could commit any crime in this little section in Idaho and not be able to be judged by a jury of your peers because with Sixth Amendment stuff, there's nobody that lives in that district. So you'd be like, aha, I've done it. It's the perfect crime.
Wow.
So maybe we should do like some money laundering out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, money laundering in Idaho.
Like, to me, when I hear that, like, it sounds like laundry, like you're going to wash money. Every time I hear that.
That's great.
Anyway.
I'm really good with shapes.
I've heard.
So, that is to say, I saw more of Yellowstone than I expected. And that is mostly due to the fact that I feel like Yellowstone, for the most part, was like really accessible.
My question is, did you want to go to Yellowstone? Was this like a desire that you had?
Like as a wee tot?
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea of the national park system.
Right, like at what point? Was it just when we got together and we like hit the road and we're like, oh, I guess we can do this?
Yeah. When we were en route, I was like, oh, we'll go by Yellowstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
And you?
Well, I had gone at a
Really?
young age.
I think there was this
Yeah.
portion of like your youth where you went and did all these like cool crazy things. And
So
then
cool.
I feel like
So
you didn't go back to
crazy.
Yellow. You only went to Yellowstone that one time, right?
Yeah, I was too busy going to other places.
That's nice. Versus going to the same place over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Y'all. How old were you?
Oh, I don't know.
Please.
You know I can't answer that for legal
Pre-puberty?
reasons.
For legal reasons? Were you in Idaho?
Wow. I like late grade school, sure.
Okay, cool. What do you remember about that trip?
Not much.
Wow.
I think I remember seeing the geysers, seeing some wildlife. I definitely remember like driving through because that's what you do. You drive through and you're like one with the animals.
It's the Great American Road Trip, driving through National Park.
Yeah. I mean, talking about it makes me want to go again. I'm ready.
Well, it's good that we didn't go this summer because the park experienced that like 500-year flooding event. I think they got like 10 inches of rain. It over the course of like 24 hours and a bunch of snow melt, and then it destroyed portions of that north entrance that we utilized going into the park originally from Gardner.
Was that it from... We'd cruised through Montana.
Right, so we came from the north entrance, so that day we had gone through Bozeman and Livingston, and then we, at that point, continued south and went through the north entrance into Yellowstone, into Mammoth Springs. Mammoth Hot Springs? So yeah, during that flooding event, like most of that road was destroyed. And also portions of like the eastern road that we also used when we exited for the final time. So both of those have been destroyed, and they only recently reopened to temporary roads, and that was like in late October.
But it would have made sense if we had been there.
Yeah.
Because we're so hardcore.
What do you think the like crux of this story is? I think the big thing with Yellowstone is that we got frickin' evacuated.
This is the big dance, the big show.
Yeah.
This is what this podcast episode's all about.
Evictions.
Yes. You and me. So we stumble upon Yellowstone.
Stumble upon it?
We're there.
You sound like we're some colonialist.
We're taking it all in. The animals are majestic. I think because we didn't really have a plan and the plan was to sleep in the back of the car. I guess at one point we end up at the lodge after driving around all day. And we're like, oh, maybe we can like talk them down in price. And we did.
It was like one of those moments where we were like trying to like close a deal with somebody. Like at one point we started like exchanging figures on pieces of paper that we were like sliding across the desk.
Right. We weren't saying it. No one was speaking, but it was like writing down a number back and forth.
And they were like our age or younger as we're sitting in this lodge. Yeah. And then while we were doing this, I don't think you remember this because I didn't remember it until I read our diary notes. Some dude came up to the front desk and was like,
Yes. Could I borrow a pair of scissors, please?
and the girls that we were negotiating the deal with were like, yeah, cool. Hand him a pair of scissors, and then he pulls out a bottle of wine and then attempts to uncork it with this scissors. And he's like, the cork's getting everywhere.
What?
And then eventually wine is getting everywhere, and he is like destroying this bottle.
I do not remember that. But I do remember when we were leaving the lodge and there was that woman and her husband and they were like exiting, but then she wiped out. I guess she slipped on ice or something.
She slipped on the frozen grate of the lodge.
But then she said, oh, slicker than owl shit.
Yeah, with a bit of a southern accent.
Which it was like, what did she just say? I had never heard that.
So yeah, this is also was in the notes. Like we walked by this woman who was like, I'm going to say she was glued to the ground. Like she was stuck. She's like, help me. And so then we helped her up. We put her on a luggage rack and then we wheeled her back to her room. So we negotiated the deal for this room. We got a 2-night stay in the lodge because we were kind of roughing it for the first part of this road trip. I only think we're on like day 3 or something. And because we had driven from Oregon all the way to Boulder, Montana in a day, Santa Claus style.
Yeah, it was hardcore.
And by a day that might be a little, because we got in after midnight. So I mean, it was a day plus.
Yeah.
But so when we were debating on when to go into Yellowstone. And we had called Yellowstone because we were seeing like crazy weather was coming. And we're like, oh, but if we wait, then we'll drive into the weather versus if we just like hoof it and go. And then we're just kind of in it. And so we called and the lady was like, yeah, our weather forecast says it's supposed to be like 6 degrees tomorrow night. But that can't be true.
I remember talking to some other people and they were like, no, it's like everything's great. And I think that you had talked to a couple people because, what they were saying wasn't aligning with what we were seeing in our research.
And our research is never incorrect.
Wow.
So then we were around Livingston, which is a super cute town. And then we decided to just go down. It's like an hour drive in good conditions. It's like an hour drive from Livingston to the north entrance. And so when we got in, like the weather was fine. It was pretty chilly because when we went, it was early October, early to mid. It was like the 12th or 13th when we were there. And so when we got in, I don't know, like for you and I, like we live on the wilderness-filled rural Oregon coast, but when we got in to like Mammoth Hot Springs, we're like, oh my God, look at all those elk.
No, it was kind of embarrassing how excited we were to see this like herd of elk.
Because here at home, elk are kind of like gigantic horned rats.
They're like breaking our farm fences. They're like a little gang that roam around. But I feel like your mom has like the herd that hangs out in her, well, not in her backyard, but basically
Her view. Yeah.
her view. I mean, so we've seen a lot of elk.
We've seen elk really close, like times when we've left like your grandparents after a long night. We're driving back, and then all of a sudden we hear like it's a stampede, and then you just see like this. It's like someone turned on the hose, and a bunch of full-grown elk shoot out, just flying out, and there's like 40 of them, 50 of them.
Right. So yeah, we're in Yellowstone. And it's like one of the first things that we really see. And we're like, oh my God. But I feel like in our minds, our goal was to see moose. And so we were definitely on the lookout during this trip to find moose.
I will say that I got very excited towards the end. I was like, Katie, we found it. It's a moose. And it was just it was a doe. It was a female doe, an elk, a female. I guess they call it a cow. It was a cow. It was a cow elk.
It was not a moose, unfortunately. So
And how embarrassing for me to not know that.
Jordan has not seen a moose.
Yeah, not in the Tetons, not in Yellowstone, not in Vancouver, Canada. Why did we go there? Not in Victoria, Canada. What's the point? Why are we there?
Well,
we also didn't see wolves. We didn't see a single wolf. And the whole like, we reintroduced them. They're part of the ecosystem. Well, where are they? Huh?
Yeah, but we saw coyotes.
No, we saw a pack of, just like we saw a moose, we saw a pack of wolves. In the parking lot of the lodge, because the
yeah.
lodge was by the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. So this lodge wasn't near an entrance. It was kind of like it was in Yellowstone.
It was up.
And I was surprised that there was a lodge there. I was like, oh, this is where we put one?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were driving. It was that morning. And you were like, Jordan, I think I saw a wolf. And I was like, oh my God, it's game on, because that's our last name, Wolf.
Uh-huh.
And so we started driving around following this wolf, very excited. And then all of a sudden we're like, that's kind of small. Like, I thought a wolf would be bigger. Turns out it was a coyote. A big, fluffy coyote. Because again, here locally, our coyotes are all kind of like mangy. They're gross.
Oh, except I saw a puppy, a little pup coyote.
And that one was adorable.
This was like, what, 6 months ago? I was so excited.
We got a pretty good video. And by pretty good, it was okay.
Wow. Well, anyway, so we decided to stay at the lodge. Let's go back to the lodge.
Because it was night. I mean, like,
Right.
darkness had fallen.
Right. And we were, at the top of this mountain or whatever, like kind of in the middle of nowhere. We're like, oh, great, there's a lodge. So
We don't have to sleep in our car tonight.
So we work out a deal. We check into our room. I remember there was like cute little bear soap.
I also have a note about the bear soap.
I know, it really left an impression on us.
We took that bear soap. We didn't use it, but we took it. And
Because it was
I
so
don't
nice.
we didn't use it for years.
I know.
I think we used it like a year after. I think during the pandemic we're like, I guess we got to use the bear soap. It was so cute. It was a little like teddy bear. Like, it wasn't like, I'm a grizzly, watch out for me.
Right, it was standing up. It wasn't sitting down. It
Yeah.
wasn't
It was like a skinnier Pooh Bear.
yeah.
It was a skinny Pooh.
Okay.
But the room that we checked into, it was really cold and we couldn't figure out how to get it warm. So it was just like sleeping in the car, except for our square footage was a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
It was so cold in that room.
We had a nice little window, look outside.
We also there was like a chessboard like in the lodge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where we ate. I have no memory of eating at all in Yellowstone.
I don't remember that either.
But we must have. Because our other options were we had some apples and some cheese that needed to be more refrigerated than we were doing.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, we might have just had snacks in the car. I mean, because again,
Nut
we just
mix.
worked out some sort of deal. I could also imagine wheeler dealer being like, well, we spent the money on the lodge, so we got to eat our snacks.
Looks like we're foraging tonight, babe.
Or because it was closing down for the season.
Which we didn't know at the time. We didn't know that the lodge and most of Yellowstone was closing for the season. Which when I hear closing for the season, I'm thinking like, I don't know, mid-December.
Right.
Around now. That seems like a normal time for things to close.
Mm-hmm.
Not early October. But I guess things are different when you're on an old extinct volcano.
Mm-hmm.
Because Yellowstone is really high. Like, I think 8,000 feet up at some places, maybe higher. Because Yellowstone is the caldera of a super volcano. And we didn't really realize that.
That's why it's over 2 million acres.
Yeah, it's a super volcano. And then that's why there's all this like geothermal activity going on. Not over, but about half of the world's active geysers reside within Yellowstone,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy. So we're staying at the lodge. We
Okay,
decided
I just have
Okay.
to say it. I think the reason we didn't eat is because things were closed and they had already packed it up. This is
Right.
like bringing up something for me. It's just like, oh, this is really good normally, but they've already like shut down. And we're like, okay, great.
Isn't that kind of what you and I do, though? We're like, oh, this place is really cool, just not today.
Mm-hmm.
But it was beautiful, and I remember we were like, okay, so to maximize our day, and if the weather's going to get crazy, we'll just wake up pretty early tomorrow, and then we'll, like, start and see where we end up. And so we woke up, and it had snowed.
I just remember it was like so beautiful, energizing. I just felt like really excited that it was snowing. I don't know. I just think that you and I, when we travel and it snows, it's like, all right, game on. But I saw that picture of like the snow on our car. And then what comes up for me is I'm like, oh, what kind of tires did we have?
Well, probably all season.
Because, right, like then we just like get in the car. have a really hard time defrosting because fun quirk about our car, our old car,
Rest in peace.
was that it could not heat up when it was cold outside. But
Yeah,
the heater core was broken.
Yep.
But I mean, it worked when it was warm outside. Haha. But yeah, so with our maybe all-weather tires, we like jump in the car. We're like, all right, time to go explore now that it's snowing. And I guess we drive down the road.
So we drove down to the Hayden Valley, which I think was south of the Grand Canyon. It was I think in my mind, I was like, we should go to the lake. Because, of course, Yellowstone has this huge lake in it. And so my plan originally was for us to drive down to the lake.
Well, they also have the Boiling River.
The Boiling River was when we first got in. Do you want to talk about the Boiling River?
No, but it's quite a name.
So when we first got in, we saw the Boiling River. We went, and it's where a hot spring flows into the river. And a bunch of people were like, I'm going to say naked. They're fully nude, hanging out there. They weren't. And you and I were like, oh, we're cold. Should we jump in too?
Uh-huh.
And we're like, it seems like kind of a far walk. We're going to be kind of cold.
I know. It's okay.
We're very fair weather.
That's okay.
So we're driving down to the Hayden Valley because anything with valley in the name in Yellowstone sounds really exotic and a great place to see animals. And so I think on that drive, we saw a single bison. We got out. We stayed a respectful distance from the world's largest land mammal. And then we got back into the car. And then we saw a stampede of bison come over like right next to us on the road. And they were like making all sorts of fun noises like
Make you feel like you're in Lion King?
Yeah, because they were lions. Oh, you mean wildebeest. I get it.
I remember us standing there watching this giant herd of bison in the snow, and it was like so majestic and beautiful.
Definitely like eerie, otherworldly to have like kind of silence for the most part, and then to just hear like the stomping of several dozen bison
in the snow. And yeah, there wasn't like a lot of cars. Like we didn't really see anybody. I think
don't
there was like one person that ended up coming eventually.
Right.
But I also have this memory of like looking down and seeing the spider like crawling on the snow. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was really weird.
It was weird.
Did it come from us? Because I don't know.
I don't know.
That spider was near us on top of the snow. I don't know.
Anyway, you guys, these are the questions.
The snow. You don't know about the snow spiders of Yellowstone? I also remember. I feel like they were like little baby bison.
Mm-hmm.
It was all good. So, what did you think about the bison?
I loved it. I think, and again, we have also seen bison in Oregon. There is I guess, a farm.
Is that a ranch? At what point is a farm a ranch?
I'm not sure. But whatever. There are some bison yonder. On our way to Salem, we have seen them.
Yeah, and I thought they were really cool growing up.
But yeah, I think just to be that close, to see them doing their thing, I don't know, it brought up a happy feeling. I liked it.
But for you, like, how would you compare, like, the size of a bison to, like, your Jersey cows?
Well, right. So I feel like bison are larger.
Significantly larger.
And fuzzier.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's similarities, you know, like I wasn't afraid. I was like, oh, maybe I should be afraid. But I wasn't. And, I mean, they're apples and oranges, but it's still fruit.
I was really nervous being around like the Jersey cows when we would go down, like if we were doing anything, like if we were like hunting thistles. That we did that like one time, and like we were surrounded by Jerseys at one point. I was like, is this how I die? Are they gonna like trample me?
Because they're coming up and they're so curious.
Yeah, they're curious, but they're also huge, and I feel like
but the smallest of the cow breeds.
I know. But I feel like I've never really been nervous around an animal like that. But I guess when you get really up close, and I don't have that experience with like horses or cows, and I feel like I was like, ooh. And so yeah, being around the bison was like really cool. Thankfully, we weren't surrounded by them because I feel like I would have been really freaked out then.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could imagine that would change some things. But yeah, I mean, we were at a healthy distance, but close but far enough away, you know?
So yeah, after we saw them, we drove around. We got to see like where a lot of the geothermal activity was happening because that's where the snow had melted. And so we'd be like, oh, like at one point we saw like a bubbling. It was like a bubbling mud bath. It wasn't like the La Brea tar pits, but it was just like it looked like the chocolate river from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I just kept thinking, oh, Augustus, get that's the chocolate river.
Yeah, I just think that it gave us a different perspective. The snow changed. It changed it a little bit. But I think when we were at like Chocolate River time, that's when, right? When the
park ranger.
Park ranger came up and was like, "Hey, you can't be here. It's like this is closed, or this area we closed off this area or something."
No, he wasn't that aggressive. I had written down. He got out and said, "I got some bad news, guys." So he was pretty chill about it.
I don't remember it being negative.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he was just like he was slowly, I think, getting people out of the area, blocking it off, going forward, blocking it off, getting people out of the area. So I think that was what was happening, because what was going on was that night. Or that later that day, it was gonna get to be like 6 or 9 degrees or something.
Right. It was snowing, it was cold, and then it wasn't going to warm up enough.
But I think the big problem was like having all that snow ice over was the big issue. And so we're like, okay, we'll be fine, Mr. Ranger. And so we drove, happy that we had seen what we saw, but I was still a little bummed that we hadn't made it to the lake. Mm-hmm. So we drive back, we see our wolf pack, coyotes. And then we're like, oh, I had written down that we had a surprisingly not bad breakfast. So we ate at some point in Yellowstone. So we ate a nice breakfast, and then we're like, let's have a nap.
Right.
So we went and took a nap.
Remember that, feeling tired, because I feel like we woke up early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so early.
Oh, backtracking. Snow changes things. So the big thing about this area that we were in is that there's the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. So the Yellowstone River... there's this big canyon. And so we went and saw it that night before we checked into the lodge, and it was spectacular. Mm-hmm. This beautiful vista. It hadn't snowed yet, so it just had this like early fall look about it. And so we had a good view. I think a lot of the good views are for the upper falls in that area. And it is enormous, like the amount of water that is like cascading out of that. Like it was a huge waterfall, roaring waterfall. A Goofy movie ending waterfall.
But then I guess we must have decided, we're like, oh my gosh, we should go and see it again now that it's snowing.
Yep. So before we went back, after we got kicked out of the road, we went and saw it. And so the point that we saw, there was this really great viewing platform area for the Upper Falls, and that was called Artist's Point. And we had a snowball fight there, but we also made love.
Wow.
I know.
I have to bleep that out, Horton.
Why? It's beautiful and natural.
In the snow, in Yellowstone.
Yeah, what does your mom say? Oh, spring. It's spring, so outdoor breeding starts today. But we could say, oh, it's fall, so outdoor breeding's also happening.
Wow.
In the snow.
Okay, so we're back at the lodge. We're taking a nap.
In the nude.
And I remember we get a knock at the door. Like, kind of an intense knock. We're like, what's happening?
But we hadn't been napping that long. Maybe 20 minutes. I don't think we'd really fallen asleep.
I think I had just fallen asleep. Because I just remember being kind of like startled. Like, oh, know, like, where am I?
So there's an aggressive knock at the door. And it was 2 voices being like, front desk. Like, what the hell's the problem? So you run into the bathroom. I get up and I'm like, I should probably put some clothes on. Hold just a second. So I put on some amount of clothes and then opened the door. And it was the 2 girls from the night before.
The note passers.
Yep. I was like, is there a problem, officer?
Yeah. But see, I wasn't there. I didn't talk to them at all. I think I was just hiding in the bathroom.
You didn't come out naked afterwards? Hey, guys. So what had happened was they were like, so we're evacuating the lodge.
Immediately.
There's a caravan that's leaving in 10 minutes. So your options are you can catch that caravan in 10 minutes or you can wait until tomorrow. Obviously, we're closing it tomorrow, so you will have to check out, but then you can like hang out in the lodge, but we don't know when you're going to be able to leave.
Right, because I think like we were going to be evacuated with the staff.
Right.
And it was like the last we're getting everybody out of here.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that was wild. And so I think they did give us the option to stay another night, and then we would leave with the staff.
Mhm.
Or leave that night and kind of be guaranteed to get out of that area because it was going to get so cold. So we made the decision that we were going to like hoof it and go. So we pack up our room, and then we get to the car, and oh, lo and behold, the caravan left. So we were like, oh, awesome. So I guess we're just going to be here. But then it turns out that they didn't give enough warning to enough people. So there were so many people left over that the caravan had to come back. So they escorted people out of the west entrance of Yellowstone, and that was going to be like a 45-minute drive for us.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, cool. So we had to wait like a couple hours.
I think we went to like a lodge.
Like we went to like the restaurant area,
Right.
which had a cool like 70s national park aesthetic.
I think we sat by the fire and like decided we'd write some postcards. Some like, if you never see us again, it's because we were gobbled up by Yellowstone.
I had written down that I wrote some TMI stuff to Dave and Sarah on their postcard. Probably the fact that we were naked and like gonna get evacuated.
Wow.
And then I looked and it was addressed to my grandparents. I was like, dang it. So I do think Grandma and Grandpa got a little saucy in their postcard. But I was like, whatever.
Well, it's good.
It's
It's
fine.
good for him.
But we also went up because you have the hankering for the coffees. So we went up and there was like some awkward bartender from South Carolina. And he was making you a caramel macchiato, but we were like, oh no, just one. And so he made us two and then charged us for two. But he like couldn't handle us being like, oh no, we just wanted one. But okay, thanks, man. They weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
But then we went sat by the fire and had a really nice time.
The fire was good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we needed to bring up the caramel macchiato.
I'm so sorry. No free pub.
Sore subject.
But then I do think it was another emergency. Like, we were not quite done with the postcards, and then it was like, the caravan's back! Get to your cars!
I feel like it was like go time.
I was like, okay, guys. And I remember rushing to the car. I feel like we were towards the back and feeling like, where are they? Where'd they go?
Right. I do think we were bringing up the rear. And it was
Mhm.
like, okay, you got to like drive faster. Yeah. So then we were evacuated to the great state of Idaho that we were not planning on going to.
Yeah.
It threw off our road trip.
Yeah, it did throw off the road trip because I think our plan was after Yellowstone, we were going to go down into the Tetons, go see Jackson, Wyoming, kind of do that, and then move on. But yeah, it threw off everything we were going to do. But yeah, that night we had to sleep in our car. And so I kind of, does a part of you wish
We got to
it was an
sleep in-
opportunity?
We got to sleep in our car.
So do you wish that we would have just stayed that extra night for free in Yellowstone and just kind of saw what happened?
I think, I mean, yeah, part of me is like, oh, that would have been fun. I think if we had heat in the car, that might have changed something. Or if we had maybe more food, or if I really thought, we probably would have made it regardless. I don't feel like they would have left us, but
Right. Yeah, I think for us, it was kind of like we were on kind of a strict schedule. You know, we only had 3 weeks.
mhm.
And so I think I looked at it as like, oh, that's like a day we're going to lose. And we're going to lose out on all these opportunities. I think because of it, we got to experience some other things. And it did pay off, I think, for us.
I think it did too. But are you saying that you wish we would have stayed one more night
I think so.
for free?
For free?
Is that why?
Yeah.
But it was like for
yeah.
free. But I mean, it was kind of like we were being held hostage, but without the perks.
Right.
You know,
the perks of being held hostage.
No, the perks of staying at a place for free. It was like, you know, ghost town. No one's really working.
Right.
Most,
It wasn't
most of the
like
staff's left.
it wasn't like when we got like kind of marooned at McMinimans and Bend during the snowstorm. Like we didn't have like, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we had also seen most of what that area kind of had to offer. And so I think for us it was like, oh, to be marooned here and just like to revisit the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, like our trip in Yellowstone, you know, we spent a good couple days there, but like it was super cold. And so we didn't do any like camping. We didn't really do any backcountry stuff. I mean, we did just kind of like see the sights. And I think the beautiful thing about the national park system, particularly Yellowstone, is that the roads, I mean, they'll just take you to all the great sites. I mean, it is so accessible. And I was so surprised by that.
Yeah, I think it was just, man, we saw those couple bears. Remember that?
We saw one bear,
Oh, I thought there was two.
a single bear.
Okay, we saw that one bear.
And it was not one of the cooler bears that Yellowstone is known for. It was a black bear, which I've already seen both in the wild and in captivity. Black bear.
What do you mean in the wild?
Yeah,
Where?
I saw a black bear in the wild.
When?
It's fine. There was maybe like a poaching situation that happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. My
Oh my god.
my grandpa on
No,
my dad's
I
side.
don't even want to hear it.
Yeah.
No.
So that's where I
It's
saw the black
rough,
bear in
you
the
guys.
wild. I saw the black bear in the wild.
Okay. So anyway,
So I saw a
what I'm
single black
hearing,
bear.
what I'm hearing is that it's time for us to revisit Yellowstone and see moose, wolves,
Grizzly bears.
cool bears, or
Cool
whatever.
bears.
And what else?
Those three things. I have nothing
Those
else I want
three
to see.
things.
I would probably want to see the Grand Prismatic Pool again.
Mhm.
And so that is like one of the iconic sites of Yellowstone. We went to it, except for because of how hot it was and how cold the air around it was just a steam bath. It was just a hot, sulfurous steam bath. And so I was like, well, there it is. I can kind of see it. When you look up images of it, it's like these insane colors. It is so vibrant. It's like it's rimmed with like this orange, almost molten lava look, and then it goes into this like bright yellow, turquoise, and then the water itself is like this deep blue and turquoise. I don't know how hot it is, but I think it will kill you if you touch it.
Man.
It is the third largest hot spring in the world and the largest in the US. Maybe North America. I think the largest in North America.
Maybe we can go work there.
That would be cool.
Remember there was that guy that I met in Colombia, and I think he worked at Yellowstone for like a year.
Did you hook up with him and do coke?
No, that was the one guy, or that was in Ecuador. No, it was on the Galapagos. Whatever.
Really jumping around.
Sorry, it was the boys. It was the boys on the beach.
Oh, they were doing that?
One of them.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Nice. I also want to talk about my relationship with the national park system because growing up, a park to me was a little city park with like some playground equipment and a really small footprint. Or it was county parks because my family spent a lot of time camping in county parks. Like we would go to Barview or up Kilchis. And that is what park meant to me. Even like state parks, I think, were kind of lame in my mind. Since I think you and I have like experienced some state parks, especially in Oregon, that are pretty special and cool.
Right, and like have a greater appreciation. Like, oh, this is actually really nice that we have this.
Mm-hmm. Like I think I took locally, I took like Cape Mears State Park for granted. I was like, well, it's just a lighthouse and a big tree.
Mhm.
So when I heard national park, literally all I thought of was like, oh, it'll be like that, but you know, for the US.
Picnic tables.
Lots of picnic tables. And then to experience the world's first national park and to see that it was and is this like enormous living, breathing like ecosystem was incredible to me. It blew my mind. And so it made me want to do more national parks. And so that trip ended up being like a national parks trip. We saw 10 national parks on that trip over the course of 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so what spurred that was when we got our tickets or our admission into Yellowstone. I remember the ranger gal was like, "Oh, do you want to do an annual pass?" And I think I was like,
Well, not really, but
and I was like, "Oh, economically."
Right, it was a deal, you guys.
It was a deal. And I was like, "Oh, but if because I think at that point we're like, oh, I guess we're going to like go to the Grand Canyon probably." And so I was like, "Oh, well, this will pay for 2 trips." And so we splurged and got the annual pass. And then that inspired us to be like, oh, we're really close to a national park.
It motivated us.
It did. And it did like that fundamentally changed like the trajectory of our trip and like what our goal was and kind of what the thesis for the trip was.
Right, what we wanted to see. And yeah, it was great. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend.
So, like we had stated, we got evacuated out of Yellowstone. How did that feel for you to be like, oh, we're getting evacuated? Like, it is a natural disaster evacuation we're trying to avert.
I mean, I think it was pretty surreal. Like, just kind of caravanning, getting out of there. It's like noticing that the weather was maybe actively getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
But feeling grateful that we had the experiences that we had and that we were exiting safely. And, and then I think we obviously felt empowered to go back because, ladies and gentlemen, we went back to the park and we circled. How did we get back in?
So we went down through Idaho. We went over like the backside of the Tetons, which was a beautiful road trip.
Mm-hmm.
We did the backside of the Tetons from Idaho into Wyoming. And so we got back into Wyoming, and then we went to Jackson Hole, whatever. Checked out the Tetons. Then we went back from the Tetons. The Tetons are south of Yellowstone. And so we just kept driving up north into the park again.
Pop back up.
And then
We're like, we didn't see any wolves.
we gotta go back, Kate! We gotta go back!
Wow.
I was so happy I could pull out a Lost reference.
Yeah, it was really good for me.
It's a flash forward!
All right.
So we're driving up, and then we see this sign that I'm like really confused by. I'm still kind of confused by it. Jessica, text us. What does it mean? There was this big sign that said like Continental Divide, and I was like, what is that? That's so cool! And I think you were freaked out by it, because I think natural things in space freak you out. So we took a picture with the sign that says you are on the Continental Divide. Drove back up. We saw the lake, which was huge and spectacular, and way bigger than I expected it to be. And that's where we saw the moose/cow elk. And then that day we were devoted to we checked out the geysers. We saw Old Faithful.
Classic.
Did you remember seeing Old Faithful the first time you went?
I think so. It's what I remember.
And so I thought a lot of this, obviously I didn't expect there to be pavement in Yellowstone. I don't know. I expected dirt roads.
Yeah, for it to be a little rougher.
Yeah, and so
less put together.
They have an info house thing. And then they have a viewing platform where you can go to multiple different geysers, but they're not as faithful as Old Faithful, which I guess reliably goes off was every 75 minutes or something.
It was something. I don't know.
The output of Old Faithful is insane. Just how much is shooting out of the earth. All that pressurized, intensely hot water, and just shoots out steam forever. Amazing.
Freaky.
Yeah, freaky. And I just think what are the smells that you remember from that area?
Egg.
Yeah.
Sulfur.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Egg.
it's a strong scent. You just got to go with it.
God, it was gorgeous. And so yeah, that day we did the geysers, checked out that, and then we kept on driving because we wanted to go to the Lamar Valley. The Lamar Valley is allegedly the most reliable place to see wolves in the park. And so I remember we should have grabbed binoculars or something.
Yeah.
I used the zoom lens on our camera, but that would only get me so far. And I remember being like, oh, is that a bear? No, it's just a bush. Yeah, never saw wolves.
And I think, again, we were kind of on a schedule. And so it was okay, we got to keep moving because it was oh, I wish we could spend another day here exploring.
Mm-hmm.
But that was our last area before we exited the park.
And while we were exiting, I remember traffic came to a standstill.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember why traffic came to a standstill?
There were some bison in the road, thrashing about.
I kind of wish one of the bison hit our car. That would have been...
Yeah.
Yeah, hit me again.
Whoa, I just watched a bird, hit our window.
Oh.
Okay.
What, was it a big bird? Was it an ostrich? A penguin?
It was smaller than that.
Smaller than a penguin?
It was.
So it was a duck?
Okay, we're going to move on.
I wish a duck would hit our window.
I have a grumbly tummy.
No.
It's true.
Is that all just talk of bison? Bison
it's making me
burgers?
so hungry.
I want a bison burger. I want to take a bite of your back.
Okay.
Bison.
What do you remember? I mean, I just remember like it walked past our car.
It got really close to our car because there was just like several bison just like mingling.
Yeah, they were like
This is our space.
Right.
This is not your space.
Mm-hmm. And that was it was lovely. Up close, personal.
I think it is beautiful to see the bison and to see all of the efforts put in place to replenish that population, because the bison was like dangerously close to extinction for a while, and how important that is to like the native people, just as a symbol, as a food source. I mean, the bison was like so interwoven into a lot of these cultures, and to bring that back and to really try to get the bison to be thriving again is like a wonderful thing. And I love that we can go and we can see them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just really enjoyed just that trek. I mean, that trek out of the Lamar Valley and exiting the park was really pristine. The snow was still out. You saw a fox at one point.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, was it a fox or was it like a baby coyote? What did we see? Are there foxes in Yellowstone?
Right. I don't know. We need to. Yeah, you can't trust us. We don't know what we saw.
No.
But we think we saw a fox.
It was another bush. It was probably a cow elk, is what you saw.
All right.
I would like to tell more about the story of exiting Yellowstone, but that'll have to be for another time, because that was probably one of the dumbest things we've ever done, exiting Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say it's because the signage wasn't very good as you exit Yellowstone.
It's quite the tale, you guys.
It's like the beautiful thing about the road trips in America is that there's all these roads that go into really amazing places that are kind of dangerous.
Life-threatening.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the question is, what would you do differently if you were to do this again?
I would have, I think, allotted more time for Yellowstone. I don't think at any point was I under the impression that Yellowstone was like something we were kind of shoving in. It was like, oh, I really want to do this, but I think giving us more time to see more things, actually do some hikes around that area, maybe get some bear spray, hunker down and see a moose or a wolf eat a moose. Like in the classic Hatchet spin-off sequel, Brian's Winter, when he watches a wolf eat a moose.
What?
Crazy, man. Classic books. Anyway, I would, if you could see Katie's face, it's like,
whoa.
So, I would have spent more time probably doing more of the, like, not the welcome centers, but like the informational areas, like getting more information about it. I think learning more about Yellowstone would enrich our experience even more. I would have hopped into the boiling river. And I think I would have had us hang out at like Mammoth Hot Springs more, in like the northwestern part of Yellowstone, like near the Gardner entrance, because those were really like surreal, and I don't think we were prepared to like see them or appreciate them, because we're like, oh, we got to get out of here to go see whatever's next.
Mm-hmm.
I would also want to do more outdoorsy things, like, I don't know, can you sup on the Yellowstone River? Can we go fish on the Yellowstone River or the lake? Can you do anything on the lake?
So what I'm hearing, because I agree with this, that it would be good to be a little more prepared, have some binoculars, and just spend more time. I think sounds like we're gonna go there for 2 weeks.
Whoa,
Yeah, because
that's a commitment.
I do think we could like camp, like if we had an RV or something.
Yeah. I mean, my cousin recently went camping in Yellowstone, which is like, oh, you can go camp. I also think one of the issues with traveling the way I make us travel sometimes is like we are prepared for a breadth of things, but not necessarily prepared for like specific types of traveling. Like we weren't equipped for like hikes necessarily. We weren't really equipped to like actually camp. We were equipped to car camp, but it's like a lot of these things, like we definitely did our approach of like jack of all trades, master of none. And so because of that, we got a pretty surface experience in Yellowstone. We got amazing experiences. We got to see these beautiful things.
Introductory.
Introductory.
Yes.
It was Yellowstone 101.
That's how I like it.
What would you do differently?
I just expressed that.
What would you want to do next time?
I want to stay longer. I want to bring binoculars. I want to, and be more well versed on the history and what we're looking at and have some more information.
Yeah, originally, like when they established Yellowstone as a park, I read on the national park website that the first superintendent of the park, like, maybe only entered the park like twice or 5 times within like his first tenure. Like, I mean, it's so remote, like, out there. Like, can you imagine like stumbling upon Yellowstone? Either not necessarily as a colonial, but like any person being like, "Whoa, what is this?"
Yeah,
Like,
especially Boiling River.
Boiling River isn't nearly as cool as the Grand Prismatic Pool or Old Faithful or like, yeah, all these other like geyser activities. Insane.
I know.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Buttercream.
So everybody, thank you so much for listening about our experience in Yellowstone, our evacuation out of Yellowstone, all the mooses we saw. So we're only a few days until Christmas, and it's actually Hanukkah right now, which means Katie's going to ask me some Christmas questions.
That's right. Happy Hanukkah.
So this is the third time we've done this bit.
Yeah, we're going to end it on a bang.
Oh, good. Are you going to ask me the same question again about Elf?
I mean, it's possible,
Impossible.
but we're going to start with a little softball.
Okay, good. Taffy.
If you're born on Christmas Day, what's your star sign?
You are a Capricorn?
You are correct.
Capra correct.
Capra. When was the first version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town released?
1963.
No.
Dang.
You were so wrong. I'm gonna
2005.
come back to that because it's a good one. Okay.
1700.
What is Iris's job in The Holiday? Yeah, this is on the Christmas quiz.
The Holiday?
Yeah, that movie you've seen like once.
Is
or
that the
twice.
one? Is that the one with Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz?
Yes.
Who's Iris? Is that Kate Winslet?
Yes. What's her job?
What is her job? She's hanging out in England. Looks like the Cotswolds.
Yes.
Not quite sure.
She starts hanging out with the elderly neighbor
Right.
and Jack Black.
Is she makes soup, right? She makes soup.
She is a journalist.
Oh, I don't remember that at all.
No?
No.
All right, well.
Is Cameron Diaz also a journalist? What's she doing?
No, she makes...
Soup. She's the one who makes soup.
No, she makes commercials. Remember this? No?
Great.
Okay. When do the 12 days of Christmas start?
Oh, I thought we decided that was December 13th, right?
Yeah, but we are wrong according to this quiz.
December 14th?
The quiz says Christmas Day.
Wait, what?
That's what it says.
So then you go 12 days from there? Do you get to like the Three Kings or like what's that?
I don't know.
Or is it Epiphany? Is that what they call that? I don't know Christmas.
Okay, we're going to end it on that question. I'm going to give you one more chance.
About Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
When was the first version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town released?
Okay, 1922.
1934. Boop, boop. Ow, ow.
Wow, is that a good year for you?
I don't know, but I'm
seem-
happy. I just closed that tab that I've had open for so many weeks.
So now we'll never be able to revisit it.
I think it was a British quiz.
You mean a British quiz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, according to the movie Elf 2003, 2002?
I don't
What
know.
is the first rule of being an elf? I answered this twice.
Every
for
day
you.
is Christmas.
No.
Celebrate like
It's
every
treat every day
treat
like it's
every
Christmas.
day like Christmas.
How dare you? I've answered this for you so many times.
That's why you're so good
Yeah,
at this quiz.
So good at the quiz.
You're so good at Christmas quiz.
But I'm not as good at that quiz as I am at shapes.
I've heard.
So
Hey, what shape is this?
you did a star with your fingers.
What shape is this?
That is a lightning bolt.
what shape is.
You keep doing the like Oregon O / maybe something semi-erotic with your hands.
What are you talking about? This
What
is
are you
this is
talking
triangle.
Oh,
This
okay.
is triangle.
Well, it looks like something else to me.
Wow. All right.
Jessica, what is she doing with her hands?
Stop talking. She's not in the microphone.
Who is in the little man? There's a little man in the microphone.
Why isn't it a little woman?
A little woman in the microphone.
I don't like that. All right. Where are we going next week?
I'm gonna take that ball and I'm gonna back to you because this has more significance for you than for me. Where are we going?
No, it has significance
Okay,
for all.
hit it back to me.
No,
Ping-pong
I'm
it.
taking it. Next week, kids, we're going to Manzanita, Oregon.
Where's that at?
It's on the Oregon coast.
Oh!
And it's a good time. So
Oh, I'm
excited. Oh, you're excited?
Yeah.
And I'm excited?
And I'm gonna read you a Christmas quiz.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Buckle your belts for that.
Why not a Hanukkah quiz?
Fine.
I don't know how well we would do.
Do very well.
This is why we got to do a quiz.
All right, everybody, have the best Christmas time. Eat some figgy pudding.
La la
Do-
la la la.
Do the Christmas limbo.
Do it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're being very exclusive to Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and other. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's more. We're not. We don't know.
No.
That's not good.
That's not good.
All right. Happy December. Happy almost winter.
Well, it's gonna be winter now. It's officially winter. Happy winter.
Happy winter.
Happy solstice, you little witches.
3, 2, 1.
After a quick fact check, winter starts tomorrow. Wednesday, the 21st. So if you're listening to this and it's the 21st or after, then happy winter.
Happy solstice, you little witches. What?
I don't know.
So this is why we need like a little calendar to let us know when things post. Because I'm like, oh, what day is this? What year is this? Party!
Are you ready for coffee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Coffee,
grounds,
yeah.
girl.
Why are we both going high? See, this is why I gotta go low.
Coffee, yeah.
No.
Coffee, yeah. Coffee,
Don't be
yeah.
waving your little
Coffee,
fingers at
coffee,
me.
Yeah, I'm gonna get your grounds, gonna steam your milk. Coffee, grounds.
Coffee.
Take some heated water like a geyser shooting.
I think I'm just gonna
down
leave.
into
I'm gonna
some
leave you
grounds.
guys with Jordan, and I'm gonna go
get
make coffee,
some
so
crema,
enjoy the song.
and the crema's gonna get you. You're never gonna know, but it's gonna be hot. Hot crema. The oils are important because it has a lot of coffee flavor in the crema. And then we're gonna get some microfoam, and then we're gonna swirl the jug, and then I'm gonna pour it into a latte for you, you little witch, you're a little tiny witch, oh my god, oh my god.